everyone. I'm Julie. I'm the director of MilSpouseFest, and I've got my team on here with me today, Maria Melvin and Mary Montoya, and they'll be in the chat. And we're so excited to have Krista Wells join us again. She was our keynote speaker for our October event for careers and employment, and she was so gracious to offer this vision board session for our community because she's a military spouse herself and really just wants to give back to the community. So give yourselves a pat on the back for being here today and joining us and doing this work. So if you haven't done a vision board before, you're in for a real treat today. And so I'll be on here chit-chatting, and as we go through just some housekeeping items, feel free to use the chat. And if you want to ask a question, you guys know how to raise your hand under the reactions. We can call on you, and then when we do, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. You can turn on your camera if you want, but during the session, I ask that you please keep yourself muted, but we will certainly be able to do this in an interactive style today. So Krista, go ahead and take it away.
Hi guys, I'm Krista, the military spouse coach, and I'm super excited to be here and talking today about vision boards. I used to be a vision board skeptic. So I've been a life coach for 18 years, specializing with military spouses, and a lot of life coaches were talking about vision boards and the movie The Secret and all of these kind of I called them airy fairy things. And at first I said, I don't believe that you can put a picture up on the wall and have just things start coming into your life. But I have to say that over the years, I've changed and I now love vision boards. So the first thing that you want to do when you get a vision board, I'm just going to go over some of the materials that you're probably going to want to have. And do not worry if you don't have everything today, because this is a work in progress. And sometimes a vision board, it takes a little bit of more time than the hour that we have here today. But I just wanted to go over it. And my vision boards have changed throughout the years. I used to do them electronically. I've done them on paper and then electronically, and now I'm back to on paper. So you really can have fun with it and do it however you want. But a really good thing to have is like a big, huge piece of poster board or white paper that's big. So you can have a big vision. And then get some magazines. I have magazines that are so old. I don't even this magazine is probably like 20 years old. But I have magazines, and then if I know I'm doing my vision board, I kind of keep my magazines that I buy throughout the year. Like if you're just joining us today, you might not have a lot of magazines, but there's so many ways to get magazines. I ask my hairdresser if she has expired magazines that I can borrow. Sometimes I'm in the store and I just see a topic that I actually want to read the magazine. This one said The Power of Habits. And so I read it, I gave it to my husband to read. And then I obviously cut out a lot of pictures from this one magazine because it was about something that I want to focus on with my vision. Sometimes if you go to the store, you can go to the paint store. This is sort of a secret. I hope the paint store, no one works at the paint store, but I go to the paint store and I get the sample paints. And then in there's always beautiful pictures of houses that look much cleaner than mine. And the thing I love about the paint store sample thing is that sometimes just posting colors can elicit a mood. So I feel it's sometimes you can get those free strips of paint if it's just a mood that you're going for. It doesn't always have to be an image. And then in the magazines, sometimes it's just a word or two you're looking for. Today I was looking for the word the Today Show because I couldn't find it in any of the magazines, and I want to be on the Today Show. I don't know what I'm going to talk about on the Today Show, but I want to be on it. So I went online and I Googled Today Show, and then I just printed that. So if you have a printer, you can do it that way too. So there's so many ways to do it. People do their vision board on Pinterest, but I like cutting out the pictures. And so you need scissors. You need either a glue stick, which I love. I love this purple glue stick for kids that when you put it all messy, it dries clear. And then sometimes I use this tape, the packaging tape, and I put it all over the whole board. I didn't do that this year, but it kind of like makes it look laminated, and you know, some people have even told me that they frame their vision board, but because I do a new one every like 2 years or 3 years, I do not laminate mine or frame it, because I feel like I even leave some white space on my board because I feel like it can be a work in progress. This morning I was chatting before the MilSpouseFest, and I realized that I needed to work on organization. So I had a little extra white space on my board, and I like put a symbol of a calendar up on that. So what you basically do is you get this plain blank slate, and then before you start, what I like doing is like being intentional about kind of incorporating your goals that you have for the year. I like to look at the vision board for like a year or two. Everyone's different. I mean, you can pick it if these are things that you want to accomplish in the next 5 years. That's totally fine. But what I like to do is first, before I even start, I like to write down like kind of 3 goals that I have for the year. So maybe it's not a specific measurable goal, but like 3 areas that I want to focus on. So a lot of times myself and my clients pick health, wealth, and relationships. You can, I don't know if you've heard of the Wheel of Fortune or the life wheel, sometimes it's called, but you can get a piece of paper out and you just draw a circle, and then you divide the circle into 8 sections. So you just like on a piece of paper, it's also on my website, the Military Spouse Coach, under the free resources if you want to print it, but it's really easy. You just take a white piece of paper and you draw a circle, and then in the circle, you want to think about the different areas of your life. So then when we make the board, we're going to be thinking about all of these different areas of our life. And believe me, I don't have a goal in each of these areas. I think it's just good to think about, because sometimes I've done a board where it's like, I want money, and a beach house and all this stuff. And then I'm like forgetting to put my family and my relationship, a picture of them on the board. So the categories in your life wheel are career, and career to me is work. That could mean being at home and just doing something that you're interested in. It doesn't have to be like in the office work. Like I work on my book at home when I'm not at work, and I consider that work. So work, your spouse. I like to have one section of the pie for the spouse and one section for like if you have kids or the rest of your outside family, because I feel like those are 2 separate things. A lot of people put relationships all in one section. I like to kind of think about, how are things going in my marriage? How are things going as a mom? Then spirituality, which I feel like is an easy thing to leave off the board, but such an important thing that grounds us and makes everything else more doable. Health, and you don't like just put a picture of a skinny person on the board. Like really think about what is realistic for you for your health. And I'll show you in a minute that I just put one simple thing. I put a jug of water on my board, and I'm thinking if I look at my board every day, I'm more likely going to drink water, because we're going to put our boards where we see them every single day. And then if I don't put that on there. Now, if I put a skinny person, that's great. It might inspire me, but it doesn't show me like what to do to get there. So I really like to put kind of a combination of an end result that we want to just visualize about, and then maybe an action that we could take to get there. I'm obviously going to drink more water if I'm looking at a picture of water every single day in my face. The next section is personal growth. And then the next section is finances. And of course, we don't just put a picture of a money tree and money starts flowing in. But I feel like when I look at the picture of the piggy bank on my vision board, and then I'm about to hit buy now on Amazon, I'm looking at the piggy bank, it just helps with that decision making. It's like, do I really need to just click? So now I still order things from Amazon, but I don't click. Like I say, okay, you know what? I'm going to leave in my cart for 2 weeks. If I still want this in 2 weeks, then I'll buy it, things like that. And it helps me to look at my board and say, your vision is to save money, but your action is the Amazon click, the boxes outside your house. And my husband's like, why is there more boxes outside the house? And then our home and environment is a section of the board. So if you think about all those areas, I'll go over them one more time. It's career, spouse, family, and other relationships, spirituality, health, personal growth, finances, and your home and your environment. Now you can pick whatever 8 categories you want, but I think it gives you a nice starting point to just think about your overall life so that your vision is holistic. It's looking at all the different parts of your life and not just like some boards, if you look at them, they look very just about attracting money or just about finding love. Like people will put a whole board about how they want their marriage to be. And that's fine if you want to do different boards for different things. But if you want like an overall vision board that's going to help you look at your whole life, those are good categories. And then I have a book here called Open Your Mind to Prosperity. And I wanted to just read a little section on vision boards because I don't know if this is true or not. I have no idea, but I feel like it's kind of fun. So it talks about what the colors mean. And, you know, just like, I don't know if Feng Shui works, but sometimes if people tell me, Feng Shui experts say, don't put a, you know, a mirror on your bed or, you know, whatever, or don't have your desk not face the door or something. And if I can make that simple adjustment, I think, who knows, maybe it does work. So I like to read about it. So I got this book about prosperity, and it talks about the vision board and the Wheel of Fortune. And it says that colors have a lot to do with our vibration. So if we lift our so if we're looking at our board of pictures of all the things that we want to attract into our life, and it's not so much about the specifics of what is on the board, but it's about the color and the mood. And if you make a really, really, really cluttered board, your life might feel scattered and crazy. But if you, like this year, I kind of challenged myself to put a huge picture in the middle of ocean water, and I wrote the word breathe, and I have my jug of water, which sometimes my vision boards in the past were a little bit more cluttered and my life felt a little cluttered. So this year, 2022, I'm hoping to slow down, remember to breathe, remember to make my new habits a priority, things like that. So I was just going to read about the colors. It says, first of all, you don't have to discuss your boards with everyone else, but you should keep them in a sacred place. And it says secret and sacred are the root meaning of the word is similar. And it said that you could put your board somewhere that you see it every day. So if you have an office and you work somewhere where everybody like kind of walks by you, they say it's not as great because you want it to be kind of your sacred space and your sacred board. So a lot of spouses that I've worked with say that they put it like in their closet, like, or like, you know, somewhere where that's kind of their space. Like in my house, we have a big house and I have no space that's mine. I feel like it's just the 4 kids and my husband. And, you know, it's like, so I have mine in my bedroom, kind of like on a corner of my bedroom where I like do my makeup on the floor next to a mirror. I have my vision board literally taped to the wall there. And I don't care because it's somewhere that I am every day. When I'm throwing on my lipstick, I quickly look at it. So if you have like a little, you know, it could be in your bathroom, it could be in your closet, it could be, if you have an office that's private, you could put it in your office, but some sacred space that's your own space. So the colors, so it says gold poster board. Like if you buy a poster board, I've always bought a white poster board, but I have seen the poster boards that are kind of rimmed with gold, like a shiny gold that looks very cool. And I've gotten mine at the dollar store. I don't know if everyone where they geographically live, but I have found poster boards at the dollar store. But it says green and gold poster boards are especially focused on your financial wheel of fortune, your job, and your career success. Yellow and white are for increased spirituality and understanding. So if you want to put a lot of white and gold pictures, it really kind of focuses on that spirituality. It says put a lot of pictures that are blue for intellectual accomplishments, such as writing a book, finishing studies, or if you're taking like a new degree. Let's say you want to go back to school. It says that a lot of blues kind of influence your intellectual side. Orange and bright yellow are for health, energy, and to live more vitally. So maybe you want to have like a lot of big, you can use a, you know, like Sharpies like this, and you can buy like orange and write like health, or you can write your own words, like live vitally, or, you know, different quotes that you like online. But orange and bright yellow are really good colors for that. Pink, rose, and red are good for improving your marriage, love, harmony, happiness, and connection. So even if, like, obviously you need, it takes two to tango, so it's hard to improve your marriage, just you. But sometimes just focusing on like a picture that has like you and your spouse together, and like maybe it says date night on the bottom, or maybe it says open communication, or whatever it is, by just looking at that, I feel like sometimes I will literally be about to text my husband something rude, and I'll look up at the board and it's like a heart and love and all this good stuff. And I'm like, all right, let me just pause and wait, and let me focus. What you focus on grows. So if I focus on, I want good, I want date night, I want open communication, I want all this positivity, I'm less reactive. And so even though he would have to have me on his vision board too, to like really make it powerful, I feel like just kind of reminding yourself, my focus is to have a positive, loving relationship. And so I feel like that can help by, again, like I said, I don't feel like it's the secret magic that the board, I feel like it's a combination of looking at what you want and lifting your vibration to think about all the things that you want and have this really strong vision. But then it's a combination of looking at the vision and then taking actions that align with your vision. So to just go a little bit into the why do we even do this, I wrote a list of my whys of having a vision board. And the first one is because it's fun. It's really fun to wake up and things aren't going right and to say, oh my gosh, I have a vision of what I want next. This is a picture of what I want for my health. This is a picture of what I want for my finances. This is a picture of what I want for my relationship with my kids and my spouse. So it's like, that's really fun to look at every day. It lifts your vibration in the morning. The other is what I call bias scanning. And that's like when you go out and you buy a blue Toyota and then you start noticing blue Toyotas everywhere. I've had people say, I put on my vision board that I want to teach yoga. And then I went to the grocery store and there was like this poster that said how to become a yoga instructor. And they said, it's like magic. I couldn't believe it. I signed up for it. And I don't think that that's magic, but I think that it's pretty awesome and cool and synchronistic. It's because your focus, you woke up that day and you focused on what you want next, to be a yoga instructor. Then you're looking at your world and that yoga instructor picture becomes like a blue Toyota. Your subconscious is scanning to make that vision a reality. So it's like behind the scenes working. You look at your vision board right before you go to bed, and then you wake up and you go out in your day, you're going to run into things that align with what you've decided are important for that year, what you're going to focus on. So I love that whole concept of bias scanning. And I've had people tell me so many times, I put this on my vision board and I can't believe it. Like it happened. Like it's so crazy, but it happened. The one big thing I think it does is it lifts your mood and it helps you to make decisions. So if I get a phone call and my kid's school is like, we're looking for a volunteer for XYZ, and I look at my board, and my board is like pictures of me writing and working on my book. And then I'm like on the phone and they say, can you do this? And even if it's an awesome, good thing, the back of my head is saying, no, 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 no. But I'm a people pleaser. So I might say, sure, yes. But if you look at your board throughout the day, you're like, no, my focus is my kids, my husband, my writing, my supporting the military spouse community. And like, even though volunteering in the classroom is awesome, you only have so much space on the board. You only have so much time in your life. So I feel like that's a really good, so it helps you to kind of pinpoint what you're focused on so you can make better decisions. And it also helps you to stop before you start your year and sign up for stuff of like what you want to, what you're drawn to. And not everything has to be pre-planned. So I pre-planned, like I grabbed this Power of Habits. I grabbed it. But when I was doing my vision board, I was looking through all different old magazines and pictures and things. And I saw a picture of the Nutcracker. And I was like, I think I want to, like, I'm turning 50 years old, so I'll just share that. I was like, I think I want to like be in the Nutcracker. Now, I have no idea how I would find time or how that would even work, but you don't have to know the how. I just literally put like one of my life goals, and it doesn't have to happen in 2023. I have like a really bad shoulder right now, so I'm not sure I would dance around on a stage in the party scene. But I just put, I want to be in the Nutcracker. I don't know what that's going to mean. Maybe it means I take my family to go see the Nutcracker. Maybe it means I do the lighting at the Nutcracker. You don't have to know the how. I was just like, I love this picture of the Nutcracker. It has to go on my vision. I'm not exactly sure how. It's kind of like how I had to put the Today Show on the board and I had to put a TED Talk on the board. But if somebody called me to do a TED Talk tomorrow, I don't even know what I would talk about. You don't have to worry about the how, which is what makes it a little bit different than a goal. A goal would be, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week. I know how to do that. Or I'm going to write a chapter, a couple times a week. It would be something more specific and a more action oriented. The thing that's cool about your vision is it could be, I have no idea why, I'm just going to do this. Years and years ago, I cut out a picture of a tennis racket. I've never played tennis in my life. And I put a racket on my board, and like maybe a month or two later, which again, I think this is bias scanning, I was picking my kids up from school and they were like, there's a new intro to tennis class for moms outdoors. It was really reasonably priced. It was given through our town and it was like, learn how to play tennis. And so I asked another girlfriend, I said, have you ever played tennis? Like I said, I'm so bored at the gym. Like, let's do this intro to tennis clinic. And it was very, I've always heard tennis is so expensive. And this ended up being not that expensive at all. And it was like, you went every week with like, I don't know, 20 people and we learned to play tennis. I'm not a great tennis player, but like now I go out with a tennis racket and hit with my 12-year-old daughter. So on the board was like family and tennis. I didn't know how it was going to work. She's now playing tennis at school. So you don't know how the things are going to, like maybe now she's playing tennis because I stuck it on my board and I was like, I don't know, tennis seems fun. I've never tried it. So that's why I say it's fun and you don't have to know the how. Like you can email me in a year and say what happened with the Nutcracker. Like I have no idea. So I feel like it's partially your goals and it's partially just putting things on there that you feel like will be fun and will kind of inspire you to take action. That's the big thing. We all get in our own way. We might write a goal at a workshop or but then we kind of, I don't know if you're like me, I write down my New Year's resolutions and I like put them in my journal and it's like all fancy. And then maybe like 3 weeks into January, I'm like dusting off the journal. So I feel like a vision board is something where it reminds you every day, project me, I'm working on me. I might be doing a million things. Like with 4 kids, I have a lot of laundry, I work. So I have things I'm following up with clients. I wrote a fiction book this year, so that was super busy. I have all this busyness, the school activities, my kids are in sports. I'm like running around. I'm trying to keep my marriage going strong. So you're pulled in all these gazillion directions. And I feel like the board is to be like, oh my gosh, remember to drink water, remember to breathe, remember to remind yourself that you're saving money. So these are just like happy reminders, not a should, like just a happy reminder of lift your vibration. You're doing the best you can. It's like it should feel like a cheerleader, this board. It shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get all these things. Like put them on and like you feel down. Like you want to look at your board and be like, wow, the world is my oyster. I have so much that I could strive for. And it's not about the particulars. It's not about when you look at the board, you feel a certain feeling. You're like, wow, I'm connected. I'm in love. I'm happy. I have my needs met. I have money in the bank, all these good things. And then you should feel those things when you look at the board, because it's really not about getting the particular thing on the board. It's not about getting the beach house. It's about the feeling that the beach house gives you. So if you put a picture of a beach house on the board, you might want to even think deeper. Why do I want a beach house? Well, then I would like look at the ocean, and then maybe I would sit around and play Scrabble with my family. Well, maybe you could do part of that vision now. Like I know we own Scrabble. We haven't played it in a long, long time, but I might say, okay, kids, like today we're going to turn off our electronics and we're going to play Scrabble. And it's like I own the beach house, even though I don't have a beach house. So it's like you can just put things on the board that remind you of a feeling more than the actual, what the house exactly looks like. Like I would love to have a more organized mudroom. Like we have these little cubbies. In my old house, we had hooks and it was like piles of mittens and little kids stuff. And now I have older kids sports gear and all this, like, it's like really, really messy. But it's like, maybe I just, on my vision board, I put that when you walk in the house, it's not as cluttered and messy. So these can be small little kind of like, you wouldn't write that down as a goal. My goal of 2022 is to have a clean mudroom. Like to me, that's a boring goal, but it's like, if I visualize my life going smoother and calmer, I might have a picture of a clean mudroom on my board. So what I want to do is take a minute, and because I've been talking like a half hour and I want to talk with you, not at you. So I would love to hear some questions or comments if people have done a vision board in the past, what they thought of it. If you were like, we're going to kind of dive in and start. Hopefully some of you have your glue and your pictures. I've already put mine together. I felt like this morning I was gluing mine and I said, this is like a cooking show where I can say, oh, look, mine's already baked. But I would love to just hear from you guys and see what your questions are and where your thoughts are, because maybe you're a skeptic like I was, or maybe you've been using them for years and love them. So I'd love to hear either way.
Thanks, Krista. So if you guys want to go ahead and use that reaction and raise your hand, and then we can call on you and then you can unmute yourself. So go ahead and raise your hand. If anyone has any questions, I'll see that.
Who's the author? I see a question. Who's the author of the book? So this book is by Catherine Ponder, and it's really old. So I'm guessing that you could get it in your library. So it is a little airy-fairy, but I like it. I mean, it's like some airy-fairy I don't like, but this one I was like, oh, this is like so airy-fairy, it became fun for me. And there's a lot of examples of people that like did a vision board and the things came true. So I was like, that's pretty cool. I think she has like a little series on creating abundance, creating prosperity. They're sort of interconnected, but it's a really good, I call it like a nightstand book. Like if you just want a positive, like I don't read the book front to back. I'll just like open it and I'll be like, oh, here's a story of someone that their vision all came true. And then I sort of like let that go into my subconscious and sleep on it. Oh, pickleball is fun too. I'm so bad at tennis that I'm a little scared to try pickleball, but I have heard that it's fun, and it's so cold here now that maybe that's a good spring goal. And someone else said manifestation. And again, this was something that I didn't really believe, that you could manifest things, until it was so crazy that I would look at an old board and I would say, wow, this came out like maybe in a little bit different way, but it happened. My girlfriend that I now get together with a girlfriend, which is really fun. We didn't do it this year, but before COVID, we used to get together and like have like a glass of tea or a glass of wine and just put, we would share magazines, which makes it a little bit cheaper too. Like if you can get 3 or 4 people together and cut out magazines and do it together. I've done these workshops live before COVID on a military base where we're like all in a room and we're like passing around the garden magazine, because everybody only wants a little picture of a garden, not the whole garden magazine, which can be fun. But we would get together and she would say, oh, you need this word, you like, and I feel like you can steal from each other. So you can say like, oh, you need the word confidence because you're working on confidence. And I need the word habits because you're working on habits. And you can kind of share with each other. But the word manifestation came up in the comments. And what I like about it is that she put a picture of a RV, I think they're called, on those campers that you like go places with and sleep inside them. Is that an RV? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes, that's it.
Camper, it's like a camper thing. It's a huge thing in her driveway right now. And she was like, well, I'm putting a camper on, but we can't afford one. And there's no way this is happening. And I said, remember, you don't have to have the how, you just have to put what you want. She's like, well, I'm putting this on here for my husband because he really wants one, but I don't. And so she put it on, and it was probably like 2 years later, but I drove into her driveway to pick her up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember that RV from the vision board. And I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my God, this works. Like, I'm going to put a Porsche on mine, not an RV. But I came out and I was like, how did you get the RV? Like, I can't believe that you put that on the board. And who would have even thought there would be a picture of an RV in a magazine that when we're reading like Self magazine and Military Spouse magazine, like where did this picture even come from? And she said, well, his sister bought it and we use it, but it's like, it's in our driveway and like they're sharing it and he pays her to like use it and store it. So it's like, you don't know how you're going to get you don't have to know the how. You don't have to think, well, there's no way I could have, I don't know how much they are, $100,000 for this RV. Like, you just have to think about what you want. Like, I don't know how I'm going to be in the Nutcracker. I don't know how I'm going to be on the Today Show, but it's like, you just put it and it makes you feel good.
So, Krista, we've got some questions here in the chat, which is great. So Rachel asks, would you recommend creating a new vision board at least once a year, or would you recommend adding to it once you've already created it? And I have my opinion on this, but
I would love to hear your opinion first, because I've gone back and forth.
I think it depends on how many things you put on there. But if you've realized many of the things on the board, I would definitely start over. And you can still take those things that you didn't come to fruition and put them on a new one. But I don't know. I kind of feel like I always like going into January, and it's because it's a time to collect it. That's why we're doing this event on December 9th, talking about wrapping up 2021 and starting with goal planning for 2022. It gives you a time to like have a break and start fresh every year. So that's why I like it that way. But what do you think, Krista?
I love that. And I recently heard, I wish I could quote the right person because I don't like that I can't, but I'm going to think of it. But this person said that every day they write a to-do list, and they write, like on one side, oh, it was Cheryl Richardson, I think, maybe, I don't know. I can't remember. So it says on one side, it says they write what they want to do, like what they have to do for that day that has to be done that day. And then they write on the other side of the list, and it wasn't Cheryl Richardson. I'm going to think of who it is. So they write on the one side what they have to do for the day. And then on the other side of the list, they write what they want to do at some point, like at some time. And then at the end of the day, they take the someday list and they think, does that still make sense? And they put it back onto like the today, like the to-do list for the day or whatever. And I feel like if we think of that as a vision board, it's like, this is kind of what I want to get done in a year, or not done, but like, this is the feeling that I want to provoke for this 1 year. And if some of the things kind of happen and feel good, and then like you said, Julie, there's some things that aren't, if those still feel relevant, you can put them on the next board. And what I think is cool is that for me, I feel like I've seen an internal progression through the years. Like my vision boards used to be very shallow. Like I was like, I want a Tory Burch boots, or I want this brand of coat or something. And I like put it on the board. And now I feel like I'm at a better place where I don't feel like I need a certain brand to feel good about myself. So I feel like now I'll put the word confidence, and like, I don't care if my boots are from Walmart. So I feel like that's like sort of just a progression of who you are. And then this is the first year I ever did this. But last year I put that I wanted to write a book on my board. So there's a picture of like me writing. This year, after it was on pause for the whole COVID, I finally got the book published, like it's coming out in May. And so this year I put the picture of the book. I mean, it's not a real book yet because it's coming out in May, but it's a picture, a black and white picture that I printed of my book. And I put this, like my book is called An Imperfect Plan. So I put the picture of an imperfect plan on my board. And the reason that I did that is because it showed me that if you do the other things on your vision board, like that they sort of can come true. So it lifts my vibration. And of course I had to put like it's now the magazine, now the book is like going to be on People magazine and on Netflix and on Today's Show and all the, it's going to be like the best book of the century. But I put those pictures around the book. But to me, just looking at the book, I thought about writing a book for 10 years and it was probably on 5 boards. But for whatever reason, I didn't get to it until I was, home with my kids, feeding them 3 times a day and and actually had a little bit no sports and a little bit more time to write. So it's like I quote unquote finally got it done, but now it like lifts my vibration to see a goal that's accomplished. So I feel like if you put something on your board and it came true, you think, oh, I'm just going to put the stuff that didn't come true on my next board. I feel like pick one thing that came true that you're like, wow, this makes me believe in the board. This makes me believe that there's a combination between your vision and your action that can really work. And like that makes you feel good. So put the picture of what came true on your next board, cut out that one picture and you're like, this makes me believe. And then you could put some other stuff. And sometimes those things that didn't come true, I feel like this is a little bit cheesy, but you know how they say like God, I don't know the exact quote, but something about like, sometimes God doesn't say yes, he says like maybe later, or there's a much more eloquent way that that's said. But I feel like sometimes you look at the things on your board and you're like, well, this isn't my timing, but it still made me feel good all year to look at the beach house. Even though I don't own a beach house, it made me feel so good and it lifted my vibration so much that I'm going to put it on my next board too. And maybe that's a 10-year goal. I feel like there's 10-year goals, 3-year goals, 1-year goal, and I even believe in seasonal goals that I put on a whiteboard. I write, what do you want for your health? What do you want for your wealth? What do you want for your relationships? I write those on a whiteboard for just the spring or just the winter. And so in the winter, I would love if those 3 goals on your board also kind of align with your vision board, because you should be like, your goals should lead to your vision. So if your vision is like a happy marriage, maybe your goal is, I'm going to go on a date night once a week, or have like a, if your husband's deployed, like I'm going to write a meaningful letter, or whatever it is that you're doing, but you're focused on, you're taking an action. The goals to me are the actions that lead to that vision.
That was great. So I want to read this other comment because this was definitely me when I PCS to San Diego in 2017. So it's funny because the person is also named Julie. So I don't know which Julie this is. I know a few Julies in the MilSpouse community, but Julie says, we recently PCSed and I've been trying to find a way to enjoy our new location because I'm not feeling it. But I feel like this could help me find the joy in where we are by doing things I want and forcing myself to get out and doing all the things in the new location. So I think that I wanted to highlight that comment because I know that even if like that's not you right now, that could be you next year or in 3 years, because every PCS is different. And we all go through this cycle of feeling like we're not part of our community. And even though, like for me, I, like you, Krista, I'm a networker. That's what I do. And I love these connections. But even with all of that and pre-COVID, like I really struggled with that one particular PCS, and I just really never felt like I fit in, and I was out doing all the stuff. So sometimes that's okay. But I like that, keeping that positive focus. And then Melanie writes back.
And it is especially tricky during COVID, because I remember when my husband was stationed in Worcester, Connecticut, and I mean in Worcester, Massachusetts, which was like an hour away. And we lived in West Hartford, Connecticut, and I worked and I didn't know anyone and I had no kids. And I remember this feeling, then he got deployed for a year. So I'm in this new town. We just got here. I don't know anyone. I'm walking around in this nerdy Connecticut town with all these families with strollers, and I'm like alone. And it's not really like a singles town, or not that you're single when your husband's gone, but it's not really like a young, like fun town. It was like a bunch of families and I had no family, and I was like going through infertility to boot. But I was like, oh, he's gone a year. I don't love my job. I don't love where I live. I don't love anything. And I remember doing a vision board, and I put on the board, cook. I wasn't that good of a cook. So I put cooking, and then by bias scanning, I went out in the town and they had like a cooking class, and I went to the cooking class and I actually met another military spouse, and it was called Frank Cacheo's cooking class. And I took this cooking class and I got to know her. But I'm thinking if that had happened to me during COVID, I couldn't even go to this cooking class. So I feel like it's very, very hard. If you're in a location that you don't love and you don't know people, that's very isolating. I find it isolating now as I'm a 50-year-old. This was 20 years ago. I'm 50 years old right now. And I work one-on-one with clients all day. So then I come home and I'm an extrovert, as you can probably tell from how quickly I talk. And I come home and I've only talked to my like 5 clients, helping them with their life. And I want to like chit chat with how was your school day? And tell my husband did troops to teachers. So now he teaches 3rd grade. I'm like, how is teaching? How is school? And everyone's like quiet and eating their cereal. And I'm like, nobody wants to like hang out. And so I feel like it can be very, very isolating to be alone, you know, and trying to find your groove. But the vision board can help you, because for me, doing the board, like, let me even know that I like cooking. Maybe there's an online Zoom cooking class or something like that, but it just helps you to remember that you have interests, and your vision board does not have to be Porsches and beach houses. What can be on your vision board is things that make you feel good. And sometimes it is so much work to think about what makes you feel good. Maybe it's buying flowers for yourself at Trader Joe's. Maybe it is, you know, eating fresh strawberries. Maybe it's like, I love fresh cut peonies. So like, maybe I'll treat myself to peonies in the spring. And I have asked clients to write down 25 things they love to do. And they'll write, I love reading books. I love giving myself a manicure. I love, and then they get to like 3 or 4, and they cannot, it's like, we as women, we don't exercise our brain of like, what do we want? What do we like? And you can literally like have a hard time thinking up interests and things that you like. And sometimes the things that we like are so simple. It's like playing Sorry with my son, or, you know, like I feel really good after I like kind of declutter the spices or something like silly like that. But it's like, you think about things that you enjoy doing, but you don't do them. Like I'll ask people, write 5 things that you like, and they'll say reading, gardening, organizing, doing crafts. And then I'll say, but when's the last time you did that? And so it's like, sometimes there's a disconnect between the things that we love doing and what we're actually doing. I'll sometimes tell myself, oh, I'm way too busy to like stop and paint a pumpkin with my daughter or whatever. And like, we can go to Michael's and get a couple paints and come home and do it. But like, sometimes we don't, we're like, oh, I'm just busy. And like, we'll do that next year and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, sometimes if you have on your vision board, like I like crafts, and you just remind yourself that you like crafts when you're in that funk and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. You're like, maybe I'm going to make a craft and bring it to, my aunt's I'm really close with my aunt. She's like a mom to me, and she's in a nursing home. So I might be like, you know what, I'm going to make a wreath and bring it to someone in the nursing home. Like sometimes when we're in a funk, if we can just look at our board and be like, what am I even interested in? Oh, I like flowers. I like crafts. I like cooking. I like whatever it is that you like, and you remind yourself of what you like, then you can take action in those areas, because the more that we're doing things that align with what we like, the more we're happier overall. And you actually can get more. You would think if I spend time on reading or crafts, I have less time, but you actually have more time because you're feeding that creative self. And when you feed yourself creatively, then you actually have more time to do the, you know, the work thing, you know, the sort of responsibility things that you have to do, where it's counterintuitive. And you think, if I take this time for myself to do yoga or to do a craft or to cook or to do different things, then I don't have time for what's important. But really, it's kind of making the less, you know, it's like, if you do the things that are on your board that are fun, that you've decided in the beginning of the year, this is what I want to focus on. These things are fun, and that's how I want to spend my time. And you want to think about, how do you spend your time? How do you spend your money? How do you spend your energy? Those are the things that you'd want to put on your board. Other questions and things? I want to show you guys my board soon, so then you might have questions. Not that there's no right and wrong boards. I mean, I've done like 10 of them, and they're all different.
I'm such a perfectionist that I always have a hard time, and I never like want to do one, because I'm like, I have to have it laid out the perfect way. So I always
you have to forget perfection. You have to forget perfection, because it's about fun, and it might mean something to you and not to other people. So you can't worry about other people. Like, I don't know if you guys can even see this, but mine, I'll tell you some of the things that are on my board that I have no idea why I put town and country. I mean, I just thought it was a cool word, but I put a piggy bank. I put this big word, the power of habits. I'm doing a teleclass next month on atomic habits with Wendy Poling. She's another military spouse. We're going to do a chat on atomic habits. That's fun. I put writing because I want to write more. I put my book from last year. I put that it's going to be on all these lists. It's going to be on People's Magazine list, Reese Witherspoon's list, Jenna Bush's list, the Drew Barrymore show, the Real Simple list of best books. I put this girl's podcast. I've never heard it, but it looked cool. It's called Ladies First with Laura Brown. I have no idea, but I thought maybe I'm going to be a guest on it, or maybe I'm going to relaunch my own podcast. Who knows? I put health. I put a much neater office than my actual office. I've never done yoga in my life, but I put this yoga-y looking girl. I put that I'm going to have a pool. My husband said there's no way we're ever getting a pool because even if we had the money, he doesn't want a pool. But I put a pool anyway because our marriage is going to be so good, he's going to change his mind. And then I put this big, huge jug of water because I don't drink any water. And I thought if I look at the water every day, maybe I'd be more likely to drink it. Then I left some white space here that I just filled this morning when I realized how hard it was for me to get organized. And I told Julie, like, I don't even know where the Zoom link is. I don't know what's going on. So I decided I wanted to be better with my calendar in 2022. So
what did we say we were going to do about that? That we were going to talk about
2022 calendar. And sometimes you have to combine your vision with an action. So my vision was, I want to be more organized with my calendar. Julie is better at calendars than me. So I'm going to connect with her. That's the action. The action is, I want to be better at this. I'm going to do something about it. Then I have this picture of all these colored pencils. I don't own colored pencils actually, but now I really want to go out and buy them. But I have this piggy bank over here. So sometimes my board is telling me two different things. But I have the piggy bank here to save. So maybe someone's going to give me colored pencils. And then it says Zen Teens. And it's so funny, but when I'm in the car and my husband and my son is making us all, the other two kids, late for school, I'm wanting to yell at him. I'm wanting to say, like, you know what? You're making your sister late. You're such a selfish, bad words. But I say, no, Krista, on your vision board for 2022, you said you're going to be Zen mom. Zen mom would not scream at the kid for being late. They would use some other strategy. So that's my don't scream at the kids part of my board. And then I put my family, I put the Nutcracker. I put this girl because she looks like she's got her life together. I don't know what that really means. I put own your morning because I want to have a really good morning routine. I put a bookshelf because I love reading. And then I found some quotes that I really loved. So it says, good habits are worth being fanatical about. I'm often tempted to skip the gym if a client wants to see me early in the morning. So I like that, being more, making my own habits better. This one is by Reese Witherspoon. It says, imagine this. What would happen if we were all brave enough to believe in our own ability to be a little more ambitious? I think the world would change. So I really liked that saying. So I just cut out the Reese Witherspoon saying and put it up on the board. And then I have other words here like TED Talk, confidence, breathe, identify your joy, and live your life around it. But you can find quotes online that you love. You can, ask, like I said, ask your hairdresser if they have leftover magazines. And you don't have to do it in one day. Like sometimes I'll collect magazines for a month and then I'll invite my girlfriend over and I'll buy the poster boards at the dollar store and I'll say, come over and let's get together and make them together.
So I'm going to share.
Oh, and then someone wrote, it's very true, Krista. We only tend to write down our to-do lists, not the things that we love to do. So we're busy all day long. As working moms, we're busy. We're running around. My husband's like, oh, get my uniform dry cleaned. Or my kids are like, can you do this? Can you do that? I forgot my violin. Can you go back to school and bring it? And so we're constantly pulled in all these other directions by our work, our spouse, our kids, if we have them. So it's like everybody else's agenda. So sometimes you can look at your board and say, you know what? I have to just breathe and drink water. Like I just need a minute. Or I'm not going to be Zen mom if I don't look at this board for 2 minutes and remind myself before I scream at him that I'm Zen mom. So you have to kind of like set the stage for how do you want 2022 to go? And in the past, I would have a lot here I mean, I guess there's still a lot, but I feel like now I have this, this yoga girl and this yoga girl and water. It's like more of a focus on health and breathing. And that's bigger than, you know, some of the other things. So you can kind of look at, you know, what, you know, the different things. Someone said, what is the power of habits? I have no idea, but I got this magazine and it says Time Magazine, The Power of Habits. I got it a couple months ago. So it came out in, oh gosh, maybe it was 2019. This must have been sitting around my house for a long time. But I don't know what the power of habits is. I'm guessing that if you do a habit each day, like if you drink water every day, that's a good habit. So over time, it would be better than having the habit of eating a piece of pizza every morning. Like over time, like one piece of pizza in the morning is not going to be bad. But if you have pizza every single day, it's probably not great. Whereas if you, same thing, like if you forget your water one day, it's no big deal. But if you, like, if I bring this with me on the way to my kids' school, so every day I'm going to my kids' school to drop them off, you kind of partner a good habit with what you're already doing, like piggyback. Okay, I just grab this in the morning. Then my habit is driving them to school. So you combine the driving them to school with the water. Or if you brush your teeth every single day and your new habit is, I want to take a vitamin, you put the vitamin by the toothbrush and you're like, okay, I already brushed my teeth. So now I can brush my teeth. And there's this power habit of a new habit, which is to take the vitamin and brush the teeth together. I used to buy vitamins and never take them. So then I started saying, okay, I have to partner the vitamin with the teeth brushing. So even though it looks like a not clean bathroom, I have my vitamins out by my toothbrush.
Why, Krista? So I think I may have told you this. Both of my kids have ADHD, and my oldest 19-year-old has done a lot of their own research on this, and it's object permanence. So if it's out of sight, out of mind. So it's your visual reminder. So there's actually science behind
Yes,
that.
I mean, this whole, I didn't read it, but there's this whole thing on how neuroscience is connected to our habits. And I'm reading right now Atomic Habits, and it's the same thing. It's that piggyback a habit, see it, remember it. But I feel that this board helps you with your habits. I feel like if I'm visually looking at this jug of water, I'm going to be like, how many days can you ignore a huge jug of water picture in front of your face and not do it? Last year, I had a fruit shake on my board. And I was like, oh, the board needs to be over the blender in the kitchen. But I feel like you have to, it's okay to have a vision board. And then also on your, like a sticky note on your, like you can take an action based on the board. So maybe on the board, you have a picture of a smoothie. And then in the kitchen, you're like, oh, I'm going to grab the cake, not the smoothie. Maybe you want to put a little sticky note. I wish I had one, you know, the little yellow things. And it says like, have a smoothie or something. And that's taking an action that supports your habit. Or maybe in my car on the steering wheel, I want a sticky that says water. And then I get in the car, I forget my water. I'm like, oh my gosh, ADHD. I'm going to go grab in the house my water. And I feel like just work on a couple, like you don't have to change your whole life. I feel like the key with habits is like, they say what, it takes 2 weeks to make a new habit.
21 days.
21 days?
21 days.
So I feel like just focus on the vitamin for 21 days or just focus on the water for 21 days. I feel like we can't, everything on our board isn't going to, we're not going to go to sleep and wake up and living in this board life. So it's like, we want to just do a little thing. And it's that combination again of taking an action step and looking at the thing. Now for mine, like for example, I don't know anything about TED Talk. I just like listening to them. But if I look at TED Talk here, maybe I want to like sign up for a ticket, like in 6 months to go to a TED Talk in Hartford, where I live in Hartford, Connecticut. So it's like, maybe the first step is just seeing one live, or, you know, maybe it's not like I'm going to email them and pitch them tomorrow, but it's like in the back of my mind, like a cool thing. I want to, basically it's telling me I want to improve in public speaking. So if I see TEDx here and one friend asks me to go out for a glass of wine in town, and one friend says, hey, you know what, I go to this great Toastmasters meeting, do you want to come? See how my decision would be like, well, is the wine going to bring me closer to the TED Talk, or is going to Toastmasters going to bring me closer? So it helps you to like take steps towards what it is that you said was most important. Now, if you put like wine and friends all over the board because you're lonely, maybe your answer that year is to like go out, which is fine, but it's like, you know what to focus on, you know what's important to you and what you want to improve. And I think about how do you want to improve your health? How do you want to improve your wealth? For me, wealth is savings. Or how do you want to improve your relationships with your kids, with your spouse? Because all the other stuff, it's like, what grounds you? What is the most important? You know, what is going to take up your time and energy? I've done a whole board and then been like, oh, I got to put my kids on this board.
So
And then,
Krista, can you send me a photo of your vision board that you
yes,
create? Because what I'd really like to be able to do is do a thread in our attendee group. So if you guys are not in there, it's MilSpouseFest attendee group. And when you guys are done with your vision board, then everyone can post a picture of their completed one. You're in the group, right, Krista? You're in the
I mean, you're going to help me with my overall life organization. So
So I'll
after this call, you can guide me to know how to get back into
I
the
tagged
group.
you in the reminder when we just started to make sure everyone knew we were live. So I'll make sure you're in there. And hopefully, Maria, you can post the link in the chat here for our group here to join, be able to join our.
Yes, I will do that right now. I'll drop
Thank
the link.
you. To be able to join.
I
our
love, one of my
attendee
favorite
group.
things is seeing people's boards, because I feel like there's this book that I actually saw at a USAA event. It was a speaker at a USAA event. It was called Steal Like an Artist. And I forget the details of the book, but I remember we are allowed to steal from each other. So if you look at my board and you're like, I love the word confidence, I'm telling you right now, print my board, steal it, just steal from each other, because we can remind each other to breathe. We can remind each other to be confident. We can remind each other like, oh yeah, I want to piggyback on my board too. So it's, if you want my pool, you know, print it, put it on your board. I feel like we can borrow each other's ideas.
Thank you. No, this is fantastic. So we only have 3 minutes left, but I definitely wanted to make sure that everyone knew about the attendee group. They can join there. We'll have a thread. You guys can post your photo in the thread so we can all cheer each other on. And and then make sure you, and Maria can hopefully post this link too, the registration link for December 9th. So we definitely want to make sure you guys are joining us either at the 12:30 or the 5 o'clock event, where we're going to get to do a breakout session where we get to meet and talk with others of us as we go off into my favorite time of the year, getting that fresh start in January. So
yes, it's so motivating and fun. I love January and September. I feel like with kids in school,
yes,
I feel like when they start school, I'm like, I'm going to read a book. I'm going to sign up for a class. I'm all like jazzed and energized. So I love that we, you know, we all get to like kind of have a new focus each year. So it's fun. And a big thing is if you want to do your vision board this week, don't wait for January, like do it this week. There's no good or bad time to do a vision board. I feel like I have done mine in the summer and they work just as well as if you start them in, you know, at this time of year. I think it's super fun to do them for like January 1, 2022. But if you're like a quarter into your year and you move and you have a PCS, you're like, I want a new place, new board. It's fine. It's your project. There's no rules.
One of the things that I wanted to mention, we were talking a little bit about PCSing earlier and new habits. One of the things I personally have found is it's easier for me to start a new habit in a new location. There's just something brain science that goes along with that. So if you've just moved somewhere and you're not feeling like you're really, you know, connecting with where you are, maybe it's time for a new hobby, or to do, if there's something that you're not happy about with what's going on, it's a great time to create a new habit, because you're not in the same routine of doing things. You're in a new location. So I think that's really,
yes. And I feel like also, even just like like setting up a new little sacred spot in your house. So like, even if you're not moving, I feel like we had this little section of our house where I had the kids' board games and we didn't really play them. We would take the board game off the shelf and we would bring it over. If we ever play a game, it would be like on the living room floor, like spread out. So we never played in this little like game. I had like a cabinet with games. So I took all the games out and I put them somewhere hidden in a different cabinet. And on that shelf, I put like my favorite books and a writing book and like a little, it's not really a desk, but like a bar stool that goes up against the shelf. And it's so silly because it's so small, but it's like my little sacred space. If I want to like sit and paint a pumpkin and leave it out, or if I want to do a puzzle, or if I want to work on my book or whatever, it's just like a little like a cubby, like a little bookcase, but it's like I put all my stuff on it. So sometimes there's a book that I bought called A Room of Her Own or something like that. And I don't have a whole room, but like I feel like sometimes it's just like a piece of furniture or like a closet that you turn into like a desk, or a part of the dining room that you put everything that you need to do a project in a basket, and it's like mom's basket. So I feel like just if you are trying to be creative, but you don't have the space, sometimes it's like, okay, I want to get into this space. And then in that space, you could put your vision board, you could think about your new habits, you could put like a couple, like that might be where you do these Zoom classes, like you kind of are in that MilSpouseFest learning. This is me, like this little section of my kitchen is like a me space. And you kind of keep that sacred, and you're like, don't put your homework here. This is like where I'm doing my Zoom. Sometimes that helps to like, just get a little space. And every time you PCS, it's hard to like recreate the space because it might be different. It might be a section of your bedroom or a section of your kitchen or whatever. But like every time you move, think about creating this little sacred space that's yours, that's your thinking spot, that's your reading spot. That it could be a chair with a basket, but it's like something in the house that's like, this is mom's little space.
I like that, a thinking spot. I like it.
Yeah, like this is mom's chair and mom's basket with mom's craft and mom's vision board and mom's books. So it's like sometimes we need that, because I mean, I had this whole area for like the kids' games, and I'm like, we don't use this. Like, why do they get all these organized Legos and bingo game and sorry, and they get a whole 3 shelves and I have nothing. So
it's because we always prioritize over.
So make a little sacred space, whether visually on your board or try for a little real life thinking chair.
Well, we are now over time, but I just want to thank you so much, Krista, and everyone that took the time out to fill their cup today and be here with us. Really appreciate you, and I hope that we're going to see everyone on December 9th, and you guys all join the group so you can keep connected with us. And I know that we're getting lots of great comments in the chat here.
Yes, I appreciate all the thank yous too. I'm excited. I can't wait to see your board. I feel like there's oftentimes when I do one of these classes, it's like I think about it and then I don't do it. So I really love the like follow up and post your finished products.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited that we were able to bring this to everybody.
And I'll see you guys maybe on the 9th.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks so much. I'm going to start recording.